Hi guys, this is the first video that I've ever made, so just bear with me, I'm not quite used to it. And also I'm using the web camera on my laptop because I don't exactly have a video camera that I can use, so just bear with me. The topic for today's video is inflammatory bowel disease, and I have one of these diseases, and today is World IBD Day, and what that is a day to bring awareness to the fact that these diseases exist, because you would be surprised by how many people don't know. So, well, basically what IBD is inflammatory bowel disease. There are two different ones, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. People don't exactly realize that these are diseases that you are stuck with. There are medications and surgeries that can help, but there's not a cure. Sometimes that is difficult to deal with and to live with because there's emotional as well as physical aspects of the disease. So I'm going to be talking about the one that I have, which is ulcerative colitis. What ulcerative colitis is inflammation and ulcers in the lining of the colon, which is the large intestine. Basically, your body thinks that there's something there that shouldn't be, so it fights what it thinks is there, which ultimately turns out to be the tissue of your colon, which should be there, obviously. It's a part of you, you need it, and your body doesn't quite recognize that it's part of you. There are 3 different types, but the one that I have is left-sided colitis. It affects the rectum, sigmoid colon, and descending colon. So like pretty much from just above my navel on my left side all the way down, it is inflamed and has ulcers. And that's obviously not good. With the inflammation being there, it means that I have diarrhea pretty much almost every day, sometimes a lot. And that can be difficult to deal with just because I tend to need to get to a bathroom and very, very quickly. And sometimes I really cannot wait, and because of that, I've had accidents where I have not made it to the bathroom before. And if you're out in public, that's very embarrassing. For me, it happened at work. I didn't have to wait, I just couldn't make it to the restroom in time. So it's not like I was waiting in line or anything, but still. And I do have a card that I can carry with me in my wallet that says this patient cannot wait to go to the restroom. And that helps because you don't actually have to like say, hey, this is what's going on out loud, when sometimes what you're dealing with can be considered kind of gross. But anyway, so I have diarrhea, loose stools when I don't actually have a lot of inflammation, which I don't if my medication is actually working, which for now it is, but I'm on my 3rd medication, and I will get to medications that I've been on later on towards the end of the video. So we've covered inflammation, diarrhea. So because I have ulcers in the lining of my colon, those are open sores that will never heal. which means I typically have some amount of blood in my stools. Sometimes it's a lot, sometimes I don't even see it, but I have begun to be able to pick up on the scent of the iron in the blood, so I can usually tell, but it's not like worrisome. Now, I've had this disease for 3 years, and in that 3 years, I've had to have 2 blood transfusions due to losing so much blood that I've become anemic enough for that to happen. Normally, if my red blood count gets a little bit lower, my hemoglobin count gets lower because my body doesn't have enough iron to make the blood, because it's just having to make more and more blood cells than it has enough time to store the iron. I will be put on iron supplements, and normally that helps. But there have been, like I said, 2 occasions where it didn't work. So with this disease comes medical bills, obviously, expensive medications. If I run out of medications that just don't work, or I have allergic reactions to them, develop really bad side effects, then eventually I have the option for a colectomy, which is the removal of my colon. And that's not something that I particularly look forward to, just because it is really expensive and there's lots of recovery time. And I don't exactly have time to just sit around and recover from major surgery. So I'm trying medications right now, and hopefully I can get away with staying on medications for however long I need to. Maybe sometime in the next several years they'll figure out a cure and I won't have to be on medications anymore. I don't know. But the option for surgery is always there. So my story of living with this incredibly irritating, gross, disgusting, emotional, physically debilitating at times disease is not something that I would have expected. It's a lot better than some people's that I've found on YouTube. A lot of people end up having to spend an extensive amount of time in the hospital, and I'm very lucky that the only times I've been at the hospital with this disease were for my colonoscopy and 2 blood transfusions. I can't talk today. So, I have officially been diagnosed for just short of 3 years. It will be 3 years on June 21st. The reason I remember that date was because it was the day before my mom's birthday, about 3 years ago. So, yeah. Basically, I think I've had symptoms a lot longer than we fully realized. I'm fairly certain I was having symptoms back when I was in high school. I'm pretty sure I was definitely having symptoms my first year of college a few years ago, but I've officially been diagnosed for just short of 3 years. But I was having symptoms a lot longer than that. So, the symptoms started very, very mild at some point. Not exactly sure when, because like I said, it was pretty mild at first, so I'm not exactly sure it was symptoms, but I'm fairly certain it was, now that I look back and see what exactly I'm experiencing now compared to stuff that normal people have gone through with similar issues. Whether it be just a stomach bug or whatever, it seemed like growing up I seemed to catch every single digestive bug that was going around school. So yeah, I remember staying home a lot for stomach and vomiting and diarrhea, and I missed a lot of school, and that wasn't good. because I wanted to be at school. I liked school. I liked learning. I liked being with my friends, like most other kids. So, yeah, it's not that I was lazy or anything. It was that I was legitimately sick. So, anyway, my really bad symptoms that caused me to actually go to the doctor because of them started roughly 3.5 years ago, off and on for 6 months, starting December of, I believe it was 2012. Yeah, it would have been 2012. So one day I had come home from work. I was substitute teaching at the time. I had actually just turned in my resignation, and that was my official last day subbing because I was getting ready to go back to school full time in the spring. I had taken a semester off and decided to substitute teach. I was going to school for teaching at the time, so decided that would give me some insight into if I actually wanted to do it or not. But anyway, I came home from work. I had been subbing with a kindergarten school or kindergarten class, and it happened to be right around the time that they were having some kind of stomach bug going around. I thought, oh, I've just caught whatever the kids were catching, brought it home. Yay, I'm in the restroom for half an hour at a time, maybe. Just really bad diarrhea. A couple days later, it still wasn't gone, and blood started showing up. I got really scared, and I thought, maybe there's something wrong. I told my mom. She thought it was just stress because I was stressing out about, do I want to continue to sub? Do I want to go back to school? Do I want to change my major? What do I want to do? So I was stressed out about that. It started to go away after a few weeks, but I had already become dehydrated and was losing weight, just wasn't feeling good. And then the diarrhea went away, and I began to have the complete opposite issue of constipation. That would go on for a few weeks, and then it was back to the diarrhea. Sometimes blood was there, usually it wasn't. Then the diarrhea, constipation, back and forth went on for, December to May. And then it was just pretty much bloody diarrhea, and at some point it just switched over to blood. And I got really scared, told my mom I definitely need to go see a doctor. She started trying to get me in to see our family doctor, and the nurse practitioner finally said, I have an opening for a new patient. I know your daughter has seen a pediatrician up until now, and let's see, I hadn't actually been to a doctor since right around the time I turned 18. And that was my last visit with my pediatrician, so I was now supposed to be seeing like a general practitioner, not a pediatrician. So finding a new doctor was not fun, kind of stressful, but I ended up seeing the nurse practitioner at my mom's doctor's office. And she did her little rectal exam to see if I might have had any hemorrhoids. She didn't find anything and said I need to go in for an emergency colonoscopy. That really scared me because I thought she might have been screening for colon cancer. She told my mom that she thought I might have had a polyp, and I'm not sure if that was true or not because I wasn't in the room. That's just what my mom told me. And then also, along with being referred to a gastroenterologist for an emergency colonoscopy, I also got to have lots of blood drawn for multiple blood tests. I got to do a stool sample to make sure I didn't have any parasites. So the only issues with those tests were high white blood cell counts and low red blood cell count. And then the day after I went to see the nurse practitioner, I got to do my colonoscopy prep, and I thought that was like the worst thing ever. Multiple times I thought I was going to be sick because the laxative that they have to make you drink just tasted so disgusting. Yeah. I'm not sure if I was supposed or even allowed to do this or not, but at some point my brother decided to go get me a vanilla milkshake to see if that might have helped improve the taste a little bit, and it did. It made the drink taste kind of like vanilla wafers. I would take a drink of the milkshake, take a gulp of the gross juice, laxative, whatever it is, and swallow in one big gulp and wait a few minutes before I did it all over again. And then turns out I hadn't had enough to eat or drink that day, and after my colonoscopy, which went okay for someone who turns out to have ulcerative colitis, I was very dehydrated, like to the point where I was having dry heaves. I couldn't keep anything down. So at 3:30 in the morning after my colonoscopy, I was laying on the bathroom floor trying to drink 7-Up and eat saltines. Fun morning. Not. So that was my experience with getting diagnosed. I knew fairly quickly after the colonoscopy what I had. I'd gotten a phone call from the nurse practitioner saying this is the medication that the gastroenterologist wants you on. He wants to follow up with you. You need to schedule your follow-up appointment, which unfortunately I never got around to doing within that year, but I'm seeing the same gastroenterologist now, so it all worked out. But anyway, I got to stay on that medication for a year and a half. I went and did the Disney College program, so I'll probably be doing a few videos over that at some point. That was a fun experience. Definitely different from my roommates going through the Disney College program with ulcerative colitis, so yay. But anyway, a year and a half I was doing pretty well. I came home January of 2015 from the college program in Florida and almost immediately started having really bad symptoms. I thought, like, within the first day, I was definitely in a flare because the symptoms were much worse than just like the random symptoms I would get every now and then if I had eaten something that maybe I shouldn't. So I spent a good year in and out of a flare. I switched from the first medication, which was called Lialda. It was a form of mesalamine. Like I said, it worked for a year and a half. I didn't really have any side effects. It was great. And then I come home January of 2015. I'm not sure what exactly triggered the flare. I may never know. May never actually figure it out. But anyway, April of 2015, I switched to another medication called Indocort, which generically is known as budesonide, I believe is the name of the medication. It seemed to work really, really well for several months. I was on it from April until October, end of September, beginning of October. It worked pretty well up until just after my birthday this past fall. I got shingles on my birthday, and immediately following the outbreak of shingles, I went into another flare. I'm not sure if the shingles itself triggered the flare or what exactly it was, but I ended up going off of the end of court and back on prednisone for several months. I spent most of last year on prednisone, which I hated. It tasted disgusting. I was jittery all the time, couldn't concentrate, which was really fun at finals. Yeah. Try and stay off of prednisone as much as you possibly can. Sometimes that means not taking classes for a semester so you can de-stress. Sometimes it means just you can't avoid it. There's times when you have to go on prednisone because just you can't get the flare under control with just watching what you eat, restricting your diet. For me, stress plays a part in my symptom flares more than anything else, so I try and stay as stress-free as possible. Believe me, that's really difficult at finals time because I am still in college. I've changed my major from teaching for middle school English to, believe it or not, medical coding, so completely different majors there, don't have anything to do with each other, but this is what I thought, hey, this sounds great, why not? My mom's a medical coder and she worked from home at the time, so I could sit at home and watch what she did and decide if that's what I wanted to do. But anyway, back to my medication story. So I go off the end of court in October, back on prednisone, just on prednisone, until the middle of February going into March. And during this time, I was trying to get coverage for Humira. My insurance company had said that they would cover it, but unfortunately the cost was still way too high for us. So it was mostly just trying to find a patient assistance program that I could work with. Finally, I called AbbVie to see what they could do. And somehow, I'm not exactly sure how, but I ended up getting it through AbbVie for a year for free. And come January, so in roughly 7 months, I'm going to have my case reviewed again to see how I'm doing. But hopefully within that time I can stay on the Humira because it seems to really be working. Now, with the Humira, I am now on the pediatric dose of 20 milligrams every 2 weeks. Originally, I was on the adult dose of 40 milligrams every 2 weeks, but about 3 or 4 doses in, I started to develop neuropathy. I had not realized that I could possibly have that particular side effect. I didn't even realize it was a side effect. But turns out that, yes, it was. It was a rare side effect, which was why I didn't realize that it was. I thought, oh, people get nauseous, get itching, pain, swelling, all that stuff at the injection site, which I do get that every so often, but it seems to be getting better every time I do another injection, so yay on that. But anyway, so about 3 or 4 doses in on the 40 milligrams of the Humira, I had to hold off for about a week, and the neuropathy seemed to be getting better, which was a good sign because my gastroenterologist ended up deciding to keep me on the Humira but cut my dose in half to the 20 milligrams that I'm currently on. And it seems to be working so far. Hopefully it keeps working because I really don't want to go on Remicade. That one I would have to have done at the hospital because my doctor's office is in a hospital. So it's not just, oh, go to your doctor's office and get it done and not get a hospital bill. I have to go to the hospital, spend 4 hours there roughly for the infusion, and the hospital that my doctor is at is roughly an hour away from me. Well, not quite. An hour on bad weather and bad traffic days, but on good days with good weather, hardly any traffic, roughly a half hour. A little bit more than that. But anyway, it's like half of my day is gone by the time I would get there, get my infusion done, and get home. There goes practically my entire day, so yeah. So I'm trying to stay off of that one because if the Humira was difficult to get covered and get affordable, I don't want to know what I have to go through to get the Remicade dealt with so that I can afford it. So yeah. So you've heard my story with my medications. What is it like to actually live with this? Well, like I said at the beginning of the video, I have a card that I can carry with me that I can show to somebody. If I really need to go to the restroom, I email all my teachers at the beginning of the semester to let them know, hey, I have this disease. I may miss class if it decides to start flaring up. But normally I try not to miss because of this, because it's something that I'm going to be dealing with for the rest of my life, more than likely. I doubt they'll actually find a cure. At least anytime soon. So what is it like trying to have to actually explain to somebody completely new to this what this is? It's very frustrating because people are like, what is this that you have that you say you have to miss class for? Or you're missing a lot of work. What's going on? Like, I let my employers know, I let my teachers know. I'm not completely comfortable sometimes with my coworkers and classmates knowing, just because it is something personal and doesn't necessarily affect them completely. Now, if it gets to where the colitis really does start to flare up, I do let my coworkers know, just because they're going to have a lot of extra work to deal with because I can't be there. I tend to spend roughly a half hour, if not more, in the restroom, so it can be kind of troublesome. And also because of this, I tend to not be able to go out and do all the stuff that I want, especially if I'm having a bad day with my symptoms. I have to hold off on actually doing something that I really wanted to do. Say there is a brand new movie that just came out and I really wanted to go see it, but my symptoms weren't holding off long enough for me to get to a movie theater and stay out of the restroom for the majority of the movie and all that. So yeah, I also don't feel completely comfortable with like spending the whole day out in public shopping because I don't like public restrooms. That's just me. I'm weird like that. Yeah. I think that's pretty much everything for now. If you guys have any questions for me, you can comment and let me know, and I will try and get another video up answering those questions. Maybe at some point I will do a video of me actually getting my injection done because I don't do it myself. One of my mom's friends who was a nurse and is really good at giving shots does it for me because I'm not comfortable doing it myself, at least not yet. Hopefully I will be at some point. So, with that being said, thanks for watching, and I hope to have another video up soon. Bye.